19 years after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, 1884 marks the Conference of Berlin. European heads of state gathered together to stop fighting each other for one common goal: to carve up the continent of Africa and share the resources among themselves to empower their own countries. The land is rich with material resources like diamond, gold, copper, cocoa, and palm oil. The indigenous natives would continue to be mistreated after hundreds of years of colonialization. Before 1884, several warriors resisted against colonialism, invasion, and human abduction, like Shaka Zulu protecting Azania from the Dutch, Queen Nzinga protecting Angola from Portuguese, Samori Toure protecting Guinea-Conakry from the French. Many warriors fought against slave conditions as well outside of the continent. Nani of the Maroons in Jamaica, Gaspar Yanga in Mexico, and more famously, Nat Turner in the U.S. Lots of great warriors fought and led resistance, but some Africans took the easy route and sold their own in exchange for the overwhelming gunpowder and status being associated with the increasingly powerful Europeans. In 1900, 16 years after the Berlin Conference, Henry Sylvester Williams, who was born in Trinidad, organized the first Pan-African Conference in London. The purpose of the conference was to discuss the issues of the black race as a whole worldwide. The conference wasn't a huge success, but one of the delegates was W.E.B. Du Bois. Du Bois was born in America, in Massachusetts. In 1919, 36 years after the Conference of Berlin, Du Bois would convene the first Pan-African Congress this time. He stayed persistent and had following congresses. Leading up to 1945, the Fifth Congress in the UK was the most successful one, with the future president of Ghana in attendance, Osejifo Kwame Nkrumah. Osejifo means redeemer in Akan tradition. Nkrumah was heavily influenced by the Honorable Marcus Garvey, who was born in Jamaica. Garvey is the only man till this day to organize 4 million people across the world, with 1,800 different chapters with the UNIA, the United Negro Improvement Association. Osejifo Kwame Nkrumah would convene the first Conference of Independent States in Ghana on April 15, 1958. This was the first Pan-African Conference on African soil, and it was attended by 7 other heads of African state. That day was declared African Freedom Day. Osejifo insisted the independence of Ghana would be meaningless without the freedom of the rest of Africa, 74 years after the Berlin Conference. 5 years later, on May 25th, in Ethiopia, the number of independent states went up to 31, and they convened a summit to form the Organization of African Unity, or OAU, and renamed African Freedom Day to African Liberation Day. Several leaders were targeted for their work towards Pan-Africanism, like Patrice Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral, and also Malcolm X, who later in his life created the Organization of African American Unity, or OAAU, a model after the OAU. In 1966, Osejifo Kwame Nkrumah had his government overthrown, orchestrated by the CIA to stop the revolutionary momentum that was going on in the continent. Nkrumah, however, completed the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare in 1968. He called for the formation of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, or AAPRP, and 51 years later today, approximately 135 years after the Berlin Conference, organizers of the AAPRP carry on the legacy and continue to teach and utilize the legacy of African Liberation Day and develop themselves into newborn leaders among the masses. The AAPRP is one of the groups passing on the torch of Black liberation. African unity is our only option to eradicate all problems of the continent and the children of the diaspora. We will win. Forward ever, backward never.